Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I just wanted to talk about some of my 2022 reading plans. So I'm trying not to be too aggressively on top of like a TBR for 2022. I felt like I did that in 2020 and I did that a little bit less in 2021. But I still felt like I had somewhat rigid TBRs for some of the months. And I do think that that's unavoidable if you participate in readathons or anything like that. I participated in at least 2 readathons that I can think of. And I also hosted a readathon. So between all of those things and just projects that I was doing, it was really hard to not have a strict TBR for the months. So I'm not promising that I will or won't have TBRs for 2022. But this is going to be the general reading plans and things that I am excited to read in 2022. So without further ado, let's just get into my 2022 reading plans. How many more times can I say 2022? We'll find out. So first off, I just wanted to go over my Goodreads challenge for 2022. My challenge for 2021 was 100 books, and I'm planning on keeping that the same for next year. I think 100 books is a challenging but still manageable goal where I think I can do it. I've done it before. For the past couple of years I've done it, and it's doable. It's not the easiest thing in the world always, especially when, for me, I'm working 2 jobs and I have YouTube and etc. I know we're all busy. So that's the plan. I'm gonna keep it at 100 for this coming year. And the other thing I definitely want to do reading-wise in 2022 is participate in another readathon. I don't know what readathons are gonna come out or what's gonna happen with readathons in the new year, but I would like to participate in at least one, whenever that is and whatever that is, because I think it's a really, really enriching experience and really gets you into the booktube and bookstagram community, just the bookish community at large. I always find it really rewarding to just have that community time where you can talk about books with others and read the same things if you want to and all of that. So that's a big goal of mine, is to continue to do readathons. So those are the only 2 like specific larger goals that I have for reading. And now I just want to get into some of the specific books that I really want to get read in 2022. I'm trying not to make this a huge TBR, as I mentioned before, but I'm trying to narrow it down to like 1 book per category that I really want to get read. So the first one is a nonfiction read. I think it's important to read nonfiction, and I do enjoy reading nonfiction when I can. I often audiobook nonfiction, and I think it kind of helps me get through it a little bit faster. But either way, I think it's important and valuable to read nonfiction. So this year, I absolutely need to read Choice Words by a bunch of authors, but collected by Annie Finch. This is a discussion of abortion from many different authors, different perspectives. So the sections are mind, body, heart, and spirit, and each one contains a myriad of stories, poems, essays, etc. From different authors on abortion. This is something that I really want to read in the new year. I said I was going to read it this year. It didn't happen, but it is a pretty thick book. But I think that this is going to be a very interesting, insightful, and important read for me, and I'm looking forward to it. So this is my 1 nonfiction must read for 2022. Moving right along, I would like to read 1 poetry book this year, and the poetry book I selected is Dearly by Margaret Atwood. But I really like Atwood's poetry, and this is a collection that just came out recently that I purchased and then just didn't read. So yeah, this is the 1 poetry collection that I think is really important for me to get read in 2022, and that will pretty much finish off all of my unread poetry, which will be really exciting. So as long as I don't buy more poetry collections, this is one of the last ones I have to read. Okay, moving along, I have a goal to read 1 classic in 2022, and the one that I have chosen is Herland by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So I've had this one for quite a while on my shelves. I also think I can access the audiobook through my library on Libby, which I might end up doing just because it is kind of dense and the text is pretty small. And as I've mentioned, I don't like reading books with little tiny font. So I might audiobook this one, but I do really like this cover, this vintage classics edition. So this is about 3 American men who discover a community of women living in perfect isolation in the Amazon. And they try to go find out if there are any men living in this region or if it's only women. So I think I'm really gonna like this one, and it's definitely a like utopian feminist text, which I think I'll really enjoy. So this is my classic goal for 2022. In the new year, I would also like to do one reread, and the book I've chosen for that is Sex Object, a memoir by Jessica Valenti. So this book is about Jessica Valenti's life and experience with men and being an object of sex everywhere she goes all the time from a young age up until the present. I read this book 2 years ago on audio and I loved it. I don't know if that's the right word for it because it was appalling. I got a lot from it and it became kind of an instant nonfiction favorite, but I haven't revisited it since. So I think it's just time to revisit this and see what else I can glean from it. I might audiobook it again. So this is my reread goal for 2022. And the last of the like one book goals is I would like to read one Shirley Jackson book. So I have a collection of Shirley Jackson adjacent works and her novels. So I'm trying to read all of them, but I am kind of spacing them out. So far I've read 7 books in my Shirley Jackson collection, and I would like to read at least one in the coming year. So I have 2 options that I will likely probably pick up for 2022, and I will either be reading all of The Lottery and Other Short Stories, which is just her most famous short story collection, or I will be reading one of her novels, The Bird's Nest, which is about dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities, etc. And this is the first book that I picked up, or the first novel of hers that I picked up that I haven't read. I picked it up like 3 years ago for Christmas and still haven't read it. So one of these will get read in 2022. I am making that a promise to myself. I have to read at least one book in my Shirley Jackson collection. All right, a bigger goal that I have for the first few months of 2022 is to reread Arc 3 of the Wings of Fire series. So those include The Lost Continent, The Hive Queen, The Poison Jungle, and The Dangerous Gift. And the reason that I need to get that reread done in the beginning of the year is because the 5th book in the 3rd arc, which is called The Flames of Hope, is coming out on April 5th, and I really need a refresh on all of the events of Arc 3 before I can jump into that book. So my boyfriend and I will be doing a reread of Arc 3 from like January through March. And we'll see how that goes. I'm very excited to jump back into the Wings of Fire world. I haven't read a Wings book in months, so I'm looking forward to it. But that is a big goal for the first couple of months of 2022. Have to get that done so that I can jump into book 5, remembering everything that I need to know for the book. Actually, that is a perfect segue into some reading plans I have that are related to new releases. So I don't think I've talked about a couple of new releases that I'm looking forward to in the new year. I remember in my end of year tag that I just recently did, I talked about a few books that were coming out in the end of 2021, but I didn't mention ones that were coming out in 2022. So including the Wings of Fire book, these are all books that I plan on reading in 2022 because they're coming out and I really want to read them. So I'm including this just because it's like still books that I really want to read in 2022, but it's also just books I'm excited about. So the first one is Tender by Ariana Harwicks, which is coming out in February. I love Ariana Harwicks. I have read Feeble Minded and Die My Love by her. They're both translated Argentinian works, published by Charco Press, and I am obsessed with them, especially Die My Love. So Tender is the 3rd book in this sort of trilogy. It's not like the same characters or anything, but it's exploring womanhood and motherhood and relationships between women. So Feeble Minded was about a mother and daughter and sex obsession, and Die My Love was about motherhood and the relationship between a husband and wife, and how mental health can affect your ability to mother a child. So I forget what Tender is exactly about. I don't know that there's like a ton of information out there about it, but it is the third book in that kind of trilogy. Thus, I will be getting it and reading it immediately. So that's probably the one I'm most excited about, other than the Wings of Fire book. Then I have another Charco Press release, which I don't know a ton about, just sounded interesting. And that is Homesick by Jennifer Croft. I believe this is part of their new like English series. They're not just doing translated books anymore. They're doing some that are written in English. And this one follows a homeschool family, I believe, which obviously is right up my alley. I was homeschooled from grades pre-K through 12th grade, so my entire education until college. So I saw that this one was coming out in May, and I was like, yeah, I'm reading that one for sure. So those are both Charco Press books, and obviously I am a Charco Press fangirl. Therefore, whenever they release stuff that they're going to be publishing soon, I'm like pre-ordering that. Two books that I am really excited about, kind of in the same theme, are New Animal by Elle Baxter and Like Me by Haley Phelan. So New Animal was already published in the UK, I believe, but we're waiting for it to come out in the US. And I believe that one is also about female sexuality. So that is a genre that I read quite a lot of, from books like The Pisces by Melissa Broder, to Feeble-Minded by Ariana Harwicks, to Hysteria by Jessica Gross, that whole like female sexuality exploration. I read a lot of that stuff, so New Animal sounds like it fits right into that category, and I've had my eye on it for quite a while. And then Like Me by Haley Phelan is coming out in March. I believe March 1st is what I have written down here. And that one is about social media obsession, which feels very similar to The Shame by McKenna Goodman, which is a book that I absolutely adored. But Carly Thorne from UnCarly recommended Like Me, and I think that one is out in Canada. Either that or she got a proof copy, I don't remember. But that one's coming out in March in the US, and I am very excited about that. So both of those I'll probably be reading as soon as I get them, because I'm really, really hyped about those. And then on to the Wings of Fire stuff. Obviously I've mentioned The Flames of Hope, which is book 5 in arc 3, but there is also a Guide to the Dragon World, which is coming out in September, and the official coloring book, which I'm excited about. Obviously not reading that, but that is coming out on March 1st, and I am still really, really excited to talk about it and to buy it, etc. Even though it's not a book to read, I figured I would still mention it. So those are all of the books that I am looking forward to getting in the new year, new releases that I'm looking forward to reading, and I will likely be reading those as soon as I get them. So that's that category. Okay, moving right along, I have one series that I would like to finish in 2022, and that is the Brown Sisters trilogy. So I've read Get a Life, Chloe Brown this year. I read it in April, I believe, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was so cute. I have never really read an adult romance, so this was a new experience for me, and I absolutely loved this book. I loved the relationship. I loved the representation for chronic pain. I just thought it was incredible. So I purchased the other 2 books in the series, Take a Hint, Dani Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and was really looking forward to reading them. But I feel like I really need to be in a particular mood to read romance. And I think I'm getting back into that mood now, honestly, because I just recently read Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, and I loved those graphic novels so much. So I'm feeling like maybe the completion of the series is imminent, but I'm very excited about it. I definitely, like I said, I need to be in the right mood for a romance. I think after I read these, I kind of went in the other direction and ended up reading a lot of horror and psychological thrillers and all of that. So I just wasn't back in the mood to read romance, but it is imminent, and I am very much looking forward to finishing this series in the new year. All right, the final category of books that are part of my reading plans for the new year are just 5 books that I just want to read for me, unrelated to a project, unrelated to a particular genre or goal, whatever. These are 5 books that I am really excited about, that I've just been putting off because I've had so much other reading to do, whether it's for articles I'm writing, videos I'm making, etc., TBRs that I'm trying to complete, readathons, whatever it is. These are just some books that I've had on my shelves for a bit, and bought them when I was really, really excited about them and just haven't read yet. So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm gonna read these next year. The first one is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. So this one says, meet Gilda. She cannot stop thinking about death. Desperate for relief from her anxious mind and alienated from her repressive family, Gilda responds to a flyer for a free therapy at a local Catholic church, where Father Jeff assumes she's there for a job interview. Caught off guard and too embarrassed to correct him, Gilda is abruptly hired to replace the recently deceased receptionist. So this is the book that blends conversations of death and humor, as well as conversations of atheism versus religion, and also queer identity and how that interacts with religion and the church. So all of those topics are things that I'm really interested in. I've seen this book all over Bookstagram, and I purchased it a couple of months ago and was gonna pick it up immediately and just got sucked in by so many other projects and things I had to do. So this is very high priority on my personal, just want to read TBR, not for any particular reason. Next up, I have Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. This is a book that follows a young woman who falls in love with a toxic man and what happens to their relationship and what happens to her because of their relationship. So that's all I really know about this one. I've seen it a couple of places. It's a new release, or at least it was when I bought it. This one just sounds like something that is right up my alley and is really interesting to me, the discussion of relationships and how toxic relationships can affect women. So yeah, this is a book that I just really want to read for me in 2022. All right, next up I have Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This is basically about a pair of twins who spontaneously combust when they get angry, and the relationship between those twins' mother and the mother's friend who comes to babysit the twins or stay with them. And it sounds pretty funny, heartwarming, sweet, and just like a light, fun read. Which I usually don't end up reading light and fun books, so I'm really looking forward to this. This is a book that I got kind of casually just because it sort of sounded interesting, and then over time I feel like I've seen it more and I've been more and more excited about it over time, so definitely have to read this one. Definitely looking forward to getting to this one. It's been quite a while that I've owned it and just haven't picked it up. The second to last book on this part of the list is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. So this one basically just follows these two characters who are newlyweds. This is about the husband's incarceration for a crime that he did not do, and how his wife deals with the situation and how their marriage is interrupted from it and what happens to their marriage. That's the vibe that I get from it. So yeah, I do really enjoy books about marriages and relationships, and this sounds right up my alley. And it's just a book that I think I will really enjoy, so I want to make an effort to read it next year. And the very last book that's on my Just For Me TBR for 2022 is a book called Nobody, Somebody, Anybody, which is a really interesting title and has a really interesting cover. So the description says, Amy Hanley has a job as a chambermaid for the summer, but on August 25th, she will take the exam to become an EMT and finally move on with her life. In the meantime, she doesn't mind scrubbing toilets immaculately clean or tucking the sheet corners just so. In fact, she tells herself that the work is a noble act of service to the rich guests at the yacht club. Tender and laugh out loud funny, Nobody, Somebody, Anybody explores the shadowy corners of a young woman's inner world of grief, delusion, and self-loathing, revealing the creeping loneliness of modern life and our endless search for connection. So it sounds like somewhat realistic fiction, and it just sounds like a deep dive into a woman's life and thoughts and personality, etc., which is a genre that I read a lot of and that I really enjoy. And also, my boyfriend was an EMT for a long time, so I saw discussion of EMTs and I was like, hey, this is for me. So this sounds really interesting, and the cover kind of reminded me of My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, and the themes kind of sounded similar a little bit, so I think I will really enjoy this one. So yeah, this one's just for me, but I bought it in hardcover, probably didn't need to, so I feel a little bit bad about that, but either way, I'm gonna be reading it very soon. So if you're still here, thank you so much for sticking with me through this whole video. I have a lot of plans for reading for 2022. I'm very excited to get started with all of these plans and goals, and the books that I have here sound really, really great. So I'm looking forward to getting into all of them. If you have specific plans for 2022, please let me know what they are. And also, if you know of any upcoming readathons that you think I should be a part of, also let me know in the comments, because I would like to participate in a few this year. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!